I need to roll on.
Yeah.
Okay. Clark has said he has the Riders depth chart for those to look at. Saskatchewan Roughriders at the British Columbia Lions on Friday Night Football, 8 p.m. And there it is, boys, as we welcome Kelly Rempel into the bunker here. No Micah Johnson. As a matter of fact, if you look at the bottom of the page, Cameron Judge comes back. 48, Johnson Jr. in. Philip Blake in. Out, Micah Johnson, Sam Hurl, Darius Bladdock. So there's the three changes. The big one is Micah Johnson out as we welcome the Silver Fox to the bunker. And we'll get to that CFL talk that we were promising. Remps, obviously we'll get to the dub with you too, but the BC Lions should be nothing more than speed bumps for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, I would think, with or without Micah Johnson.
Yeah, and it's not like Micah Johnson has been tearing it up even when he's been in the lineup. Disappointing year. When you're paying a guy that kind of money, you're kind of hoping that he plays like an all-star caliber player, and that just hasn't happened. So, but maybe, you know what I've seen over the years, and we've all seen this. Sometimes, even if it's an injury, give a guy a little bit of an opportunity to have a few weeks off, and sometimes they come back better than they were. Now, he had been playing better. Let's be clear. The first half of the year was a bit of a disaster, but he was playing better before he got hurt. But I kind of laugh when people say, oh, well, he's double teamed on every play. No, he's not, because I've been watching.
I know.
And he has not been double teamed on
As
every play.
As the kids say, I know, right? Because at the Hamilton game here, the first night of Buffalo Days, I tweeted, this guy's not earning his money. And I just got an avalanche of abuse from Rider fans. Wow. And I'm like, he hasn't been bad, but he hasn't been $250,000 highest paid Rider defensive player in franchise history.
No.
He hasn't been that.
No.
And then all of a sudden we start hearing he was not in shape in the first half, and then now he is. And now, hey, load management, I guess, if that's what it needs to be, and he's ready to go for the playoffs.
Well, you can't. You can talk about a guy getting double teamed, or he's doing his job and he's very effective. And at the end of the day, all that matters is that Craig Dickinson is happy and that Jeremy O'Day is happy with the money they're spending and what they're getting out of him.
Are they, though?
But I
bet they're not.
Who knows? But at the end of the day, as fans, when we're paying a guy and he's the highest paid guy, we want him among the leaders in sacks. We want him among the leaders in tackles, in quarterback pressures, because those are the things we look at, and those are the things that really affect the game. So if he's not putting up those numbers, he's not worth the money.
Well, especially when all we heard at the beginning of the year was, well, there's good news and bad news. The bad news is we lost Willie Jefferson, but hang on a minute. He's been replaced by Micah Johnson, so we won't be quite as good on the edge, but we'll be better up the middle. Well, come on. There's not even any comparison between who's a better football player, Micah Johnson or Willie Jefferson. We're talking about a guy that might be the best defensive player in the CFL that we lost by a guy that's been a marginal upgrade. So I guess what the hope is, though, is that he can get back to that old form, and then think of how good that defense would be. If you were getting that kind of a push up the middle as to what the Stampeders were getting from him, as an example, if you could get back to that old form, now you got something, because they haven't had that push.
No, and with 3 games to go plus playoffs, are we going to? Usually things don't magically change in the playoffs, has been my history and what I've seen. Now, they went into Calgary last week, and now the Riders have Charleston Hughes and Micah Johnson on their side, and they still couldn't affect the line of scrimmage. And we'll see when those two teams meet in the playoffs. I think that they will, but they better start putting up the numbers, because let's be honest, their position coach was fired in the opening third of the season. And I think we all know why. Mm-hmm. It's very similar to the offensive line in BC. Brian Chew fired, and all of a sudden the whole group got better. Did the Riders' D-line group get better after that change? I'm not sure that they did.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think that they did.
No, I don't think they did either. And it's not always about having the right guy in with the right game plan. Sometimes it's just about putting the guys in a better mood, whatever it might be, morale. But yeah, when you're playing Calgary in the playoffs, you have to put pressure on Bo Levi Mitchell. That's the most important thing in the football game, and they didn't do it. and they lost the football game. And now we can talk about the calls, and we can talk about mistakes.
I think we've done that.
Other reasons they've lost, but you're not going to win unless you can win the line of scrimmage and put pressure on them. And they were missing Derek Dennis. They had injuries on their offensive line. So they're only going to get healthier. They're only going to get better. So that's a big task for that group up front.
You can chime in at any time. Prairie Mobile text line 306-840-8777. That's 840-8777. Our daily poll question, which we do every Thursday. This particular question for Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center, which is Canada's game of the week in the CFL? And here's the schedule, if you didn't know. Friday night, Toronto at Montreal begins the doubleheader. Riders at Lions is the second game of the doubleheader. Then Saturday, it's Ottawa at Hamilton, followed by Winnipeg at Calgary. From our Facebook respondents, 66% saying Winnipeg at Calgary. The Twitter responders saying 83% is Winnipeg at Calgary. Canada's game of the week. Riders at Lions next at 16%. Followed by Toronto at Montreal and 0% for Ottawa at Hamilton, which surprises me a little bit, but it also doesn't. But are you a little surprised that Winnipeg at Calgary is a runaway winner?
Yeah, no, because that's how I voted.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just the fact that it should be a heck of a game, but the ramifications of the game are huge. And I think if it would have been Saskatchewan versus Winnipeg or Saskatchewan versus Calgary or Calgary versus Winnipeg, any way you look at it, when those three teams are going head to head, that's the game of the week.
Yeah, I got nothing to add to that. I mean, that's exactly it. It's a big game. And for Winnipeg's fans and the people watching in Winnipeg, they've got a shred of hope again after a win, a big win. And now they're on the right track. And now you're going to go into Calgary and really see if this was just an anomaly, a 1 week where they just happened to put things together, or is this team actually ready to get back to playing football and get ready to compete for a Grey Cup again and be ready for the playoffs? They're going to find out for sure. And you won't know. I mean, a win will help, but you need to be really competitive against Calgary for me to really start buying into the Blue Bombers again. I need to see something.
You've sold me. And I wasn't really set on Riders at Lions, even though to me that's always a sexy matchup. But the BC Lions have nothing to play for, and the Riders are really only playing for the opportunity to run the table. The game means nothing, whereas Winnipeg at Calgary means a ton. But that's what you're saying, Ren.
The game doesn't mean anything for the Riders?
Overall. Well, apparently not, based on full results.
Speed bump.
No, but the question is the game, which is the game of the week?
To the non-partisan viewer, it means nothing. Whereas as a viewer, just a fan, Winnipeg at Calgary means a ton. You just sold me on that.
Yeah, don't go back on this now, because
no, but
we've said that the Lions are just a speed bump for the Riders. It matters. The win matters big time for the Riders. But we've already crossed that.
It's not must-see TV.
We're already into the next week. We just know what's going to happen. But I'm excited about that game a little bit to see if Brandon Bridge gets in. Is he on the? I haven't seen their depth chart for this week, if that's out yet
for BC.
But I wonder. It's very short for Brandon Bridge to get signed and to play. But I'll watch them. I'll watch BC to see if he gets in and plays.
All right. So you've got 24 hours pretty much to vote on that poll for Capital Auto Mall Universal Collision Center. So we've covered some NHL today, some CFL, and we talked about some upcoming events this weekend around the province. I have one thing written, Tim's, ! This drove me nuts this morning. Trying to get from the gym to here with a Tim Hortons stop in between, because I know we've got Caliber coffee, but you also know that I'm a coffee pig. So I'll get through my Tim Hortons first, and then I'll get to the Caliber coffee.
Yeah.
You understand.
For sure.
And Caliber understands. 25 cars lined up in the Tim Hortons drive-thru at Victoria Square Mall, including one jabroni with a truck and trailer. What are you doing?
No.
Gummed up the whole thing. So I go and park, and I run into Tim Hortons, and there's nobody in line.
So you're in and out faster than the drive-thru.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I ran into Edmund Bankowski, legendary Rams stats guy there, and we had a little visit. I said, hey, how are you going to have coffee here? You're not going to be able to watch the show. And he goes, I'll go home and watch it later. That's what I always do. But do you not see that? People would rather, this is a Canadian thing, I think. They'd rather sit in line for 20 minutes than run in and out of their car in less than 5.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I've tried both, and most of the time, that running in doesn't work. You got lucky.
Because
most of the time, if you do that and you run in, you think that you're gonna say, well, that Tim Hortons line, man, I'd be better off to just run inside and get my coffee. I've done that 3 or 4 times, and
you still took
I'm
time.
sitting there going, okay, that van that I would have been behind has now gone through, and I'm still standing behind Mr. and Mrs. Smith that can't make up their mind.
But the worst part, and that one I know which drive-thru you're talking about, because the worst is when you get in there and it says, don't park in the walkway or don't stop in the well, they do. So when you do go inside, you can't get out because they're blocking it, or it goes all the way around to the street and it's blocking traffic. So people got to be a little more courteous.
Well, take your truck and trailer, park it over at the Safeway and walk in.
Well, and as I was walking out with my Tim Hortons, I looked at the guy because he was still in, and I gunned him.
But that's what you do.
Did you intimidate
He didn't
him?
even care. I didn't even think he noticed.
He didn't even notice.
He's one of those guys.
But that's what you do, just like in hockey, right? When you do go in, Cal, like you did with the truck and trailer, you take a number and you'd be like, I'd still be behind that guy. And when you come out, you realize, oh yeah, he's not even.
You know what I would have done? I'd have got out with my phone and started taking pictures of his license plate, and I'll show you. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but you're going to pay for this.
Joe Lazito, watching down in New York State, says drive-through lines are the same down here at Dunkin' Donuts. Insane. Oh, they are everywhere. I know it's not just a Canadian thing, but it's just Canadians want to say how fat and lazy Americans are, and I'm like, you're just proving it yourself. And the thing about staying in your car, it's not minus 47. I get you're going to sit in your car. You don't want to get out of your car. It's a beautiful day here today.
Yeah. It just reminded me of a funny story I saw on Facebook. No, it was a drive-through story, and it was somebody in line was honking or being really rude or trying to cut you off. So you're sitting in front of them, and you go to the first window, and, hey, I'd like to pay for the person behind me, right? Make them, kill them with kindness. And you get to the second window, and you take both orders because you paid for both orders, and by the time they get through, they've got no coffee. So you really stick it to them that way. It's not actually kill them with kindness. They come through in the first window. They're like, oh, yeah, the person had paid for your order. So by the time they get to the second window, that person already took the order too. So if you really want to stick it to them, don't tell them I sent you.
To the Facebook wall. Is this you, Clark, on the Rider Rookie of the Year nominees? Okay, so the CFL has released the candidates for Rookie of the Year across the league. Who's eligible? And Clark has pointed out the top 4 rookie riders eligible for Rookie of the Year are Dakota Shepley, Charbel DeBuyer, D lineman, right? Canadian D lineman.
Yeah.
And 2 Canadian receivers, Justin McGinnis or Braden Lenius. Producer Clark chimes in with, I think the choice is fairly clear. It would be Dakota Shepley.
Yeah, I don't think it's close.
Not really, but is there something that I'm missing?
No.
What do you think, Kelly? I can see that you're... I can smell smoke. You're thinking...
To say that I'm like dialed right into everything that the offensive line are doing would be a stretch. I got nothing.
But he's the only one with significant...
Those guys get graded on every single snap of every single play all year. And I would have no way of knowing what those scores look like.
Sure, but just the fact that he's had to come in and play significant minutes.
Yeah,
and
I like him because he's cool looking.
Been out, and you've had he's cool.
He's a cool looking.
And he's been in Deadpool, right? He was in the movie Deadpool, but
he just looks like a guy that you wouldn't want to mess around with.
No,
Dakota Shepley.
Oh yeah,
he's a star.
Oh yeah,
he's a very marketable star.
Big
I would
time.
suggest he's not being marketed. I don't think he's marketing himself.
Yeah.
On his Instagram and so forth. I have just picked up the Prairie Mobile text line. Here's one for the techies. Where are the tech people today from around this place? Apparently our live feed is down.
Okay.
On the audio. I don't know. I've been sitting here hosting the show for the last 35 minutes, so I wouldn't know. I just looked it up. So if somebody could look into that, please. Everybody. Oh, they're working on it. Clark says they already knew. Wayne in Victoria, BC writes in and says, Dakota Shepley is Rookie of the Year, hands down. Well, that was easy. We don't even need to do a poll.
No.
Thanks, Wayne.
Thanks, Wayne. He has anointed him. I think... Oh, Clark just tells me it's been fixed. That was easy. Where's the easy button? By the way, I see all our tech people are in Swift Current. Did you notice that last night?
Yes.
The Canadian Cowboys Association, the CFR, Canadian Finals Rodeo, going on at the Innovation iPlex out there in Swift Current. And I don't know if you saw the video. My good friend Hurricane Huber from Cat Country 98.3 was there. Steve Hurricane Huber was doing a Facebook Live from the rodeo last night. And I'm watching it because, as you know, I'm a rodeo fan. And the clock, which was built by these guys right here, Paul and IKS. Scott, you're in Paul's chair, if you see, but you're lucky he's in Swift Current. It is a gigantic monstrosity of a clock in that rink. Like, it doesn't even fit.
I know.
Have you seen it, Kelly, at all? We got to get out to Swift Current to a game. But I just thought...
like you're talking about the one in the middle of the hockey? Oh, yeah, of course I've seen it.
What do you think?
It's great.
Oh, it's awesome.
I mean,
it's awesome.
It's for a town like that in a rink that seats 2,800. I don't know. I don't think you can get it much better.
It's a Madison Square Garden caliber clock in Swift Current. I feel like the players are skating going...
I remember the first couple of years, though, or maybe it was the first year, before they kind of had the technology right.
Yeah.
You would see the little cursor of the mouse clicking, and then they would show the replay.
Back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Old clock.
But you know what?
Everywhere. But every rink had that.
I hope they have bulletproof glass on it, though, because the number of pucks that hit that thing, because it hangs pretty low, right? But it seems to be holding
I love that rink anyway, though.
There is a time they should have been putting bulletproof glass in the visitors' radio broadcast booth in Swift Current when I needed a police escort in and out of that town. The young people don't even know about those stories, and I'm not sure I want to tell them anymore. Anyways, then our viewers chiming in says the clock is very nice. Was there a couple weeks back? I didn't say it wasn't nice. I'm just saying it's gigantic for this tiny little rink in Swift Current, and good for them, because we're going out to Swift Current shortly to do a social media presentation here upcoming.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.